If we look at the real numbers, I'm 100 kilos and he is 70. So it's 30, there's a 30 kilo difference. Like surely I can overpower him. So the only way I win is if I just like lay on the person and just pin them down, they can't move. All right, fun's over. Back to the leg press, back to the workout. Welcome back to another workout video. So we got the big dog in the house, Ben, and we've got the lovely Mimi here as always. So today we're going to be taking you guys through the quads and calves. Mimi obviously is going to probably take...
Has great quads.
Yeah. We're probably going to get Mimi to do most of the stuff.
Ben does not have good quads.
We'll get Ben to do the calf stuff. We're going to start with the barbell back squat. So the first thing we want to do is work on getting the height set up. So we've lowered this down so that it sits just on Mimi's traps. We want to be in a position where you can kind of like get under it and step up and walk out. So whenever you're setting it up, take the bar through like a bit of a practice run. We're going to center ourselves in the middle of the barbell. A tight grip on the bar, elbows kind of back, pointing downwards towards like the hips. Mimi's got her preferred squat stance, which if you guys don't know what that is, you'll have to watch the squat series videos that we have out there just to kind of find your own stance. And then the goal here is to keep yourself as upright as comfortably possible, just having like mid-foot pressure, pushing through like your heels and your toes at the same time. All right, Mimi, that's perfect, walking through. So a really poor cue in my opinion is sitting the weight on just your heels. Having the pressure evenly distributed through the foot makes a lot more sense. So you don't really want to see someone's like toes lift up off the ground. Just think of your foot like a tripod. It's like you've got the front of the foot and the balls of the toes, and then you've got the heel pushing into the ground. We want that even distribution from front of the foot to the back of the foot. So now we're going to show you a different setup to accommodate for a different lifter. So Ben, a bit taller, different leverages, long femurs as well. Prefers the bar a little bit lower on his back. So we're going to raise his heels, which is going to give him a little bit more range of motion in the ankle, allow him to stay a bit more upright, get a lot more knee flexion. So this still gives you a really good bias in the quads for somebody who is maybe a little bit taller, like I said, longer femur, who needs to be more upright to get more out of their quads when they squat. So we've got that same setup, high bar position, elbows back, kind of pulling down into the lats. Good tension in the midsection as well. Even distribution in the feet. As you can see, there's a nice control of the weight. We're not letting the weight kind of plummet down and then kind of catch it and push ourselves up. Nice controlled descent. Then we push up, good squeeze. Excellent. Really good, beautiful. So heel elevation example. So same scenario at the upper body, got ourselves locked in, elbows kind of driving down towards the hips. And then we're getting our hips to at least below, like as Ben's getting like real deep on these squats, like ass to grass, which is great for the quads because we've got sufficient range of motion. Get them into a good stretch position and then shortening them as well. All right, awesome. All right, so we moved over to the hack squat. So if we've got something like this and we're trying to maximize quad development, the stability that this bench allows you, the fact that you can do repeated efforts really consistently because it's guided range, it is going to, I guess, like over time, probably yield to really good quad gains. So I've got Ben set up on the hack squat here. The feet position isn't dissimilar to the squat stance that we have with the barbell. So generally you'll kind of go with like a similar stance. Like if it's really comfortable on your hips, your knees, your ankles, like with that narrow stance and you squat with a barbell, it's highly likely that's going to carry over to here. So Ben's going to go through the about 5 or 6 reps for us. The same premise applies here with control. So we want to slow the descent down and just be in control. It doesn't have to move super slow, but you want to be able to stop that rep at any point. What's most important here is we're getting really good knee flexion, knees driving over the toes, but the foot pressure is still even like we spoke about before. So we're not pushing through the toes, we're not pushing through the heels, almost getting those hamstrings to touch those calves so that those quads are getting stretched, and then we're pushing up and locking out. Awesome, that was a really good set. One of the limitations you have with machines is they're not built for everyone. So if we brought someone over who maybe wasn't so tall, we are probably going to have range of motion. Yeah, so we're probably going to have range of motion issues. So firstly, we can't even take the bar out with, unlock the hack squat with some weight. So if we had some weight on here, this is gonna bottom out. So yeah, as you can see here, like we're bottoming out. So look, it's not like this is gonna not yield any results if we trained like this, but it's really distracting to the lifter to be bottoming out every rep. And then like we kind of mentioned, you can't even take it out with load. So what we're gonna do now is if we do wanna have like a fixed range squat exercise, but we don't have the leverages to use this, we're gonna go and use the Smith machine instead. So like I said, a really good fixed range exercise, primed for output, primed for loadability in the quads. So Mimi's got the setup very similar to kind of how she would back squat, but because this Smith machine kind of goes up and down just to get, I guess, like a comfortable range of motion in the feet there, she might have her feet just a little bit more forward so she can sink her butt down and kind of get that range. So it might take a couple of reps to kind of play around with like where your feet need to sit, just like I said, because this is like a fixed ranged exercise. But as you can see here, every rep is the same, getting lots of flexion of the knee here, good mid-foot pressure, and those are the constants across like all quad training when you're doing like presses.
So we just want to put it out to the internet, just in the comments below. If you're under 75 kilos.
Under 75, under 70.
Under 75 kilos, because Jason's over 95, so 20 kilo difference.
Oh, yeah, okay, we'll do that, yeah.
And you have some kind of martial arts training, Jason's put it out there.
Jiu-jitsu.
Only jiu-jitsu?
No, it has to be jiu-jitsu.
Only jiu-jitsu.
It has to be. Yeah, because
So,
like if
no
someone could
striking.
No, because someone could kick me in the head.
If Jason's confident that he cannot be submitted by someone 75 kilos or lighter. So
there has to
no
be a
striking.
weight. There has to be a weight where it doesn't matter what your martial arts prowess is, the weight would overbear that skill. So I think, and even ChatGPT agrees with me, that between under 20 kilos, he's got me. But between 20 and 30 kilos, I have a standing chance. And if we look at the real numbers, I'm 100 kilos and he is 70. So it's 30, there's a 30 kilo difference. Like surely I could overpower him. Like, so we're gonna, let's see, if you guys want it to happen, let's make it happen.
Yeah,
there
so
you go.
rules of combat are no striking. No striking, but you gotta be under 75 kilos. And you get 5 minutes to submit Jace.
Yeah, 5 minutes, fucking hell, I'm gonna have to start doing my cardio. Rationalizing it outside of the strength part, right?
You're really scared.
No, it's like, no, what am I gonna do? So like, let's say we start, right? So we're like, fight. So someone with jiu-jitsu skill, someone with skill, they're like, they have intent. So they're like, I'm gonna try and get him. Me, I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Because you can't strike.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So how do
It's
you
like,
actually win?
Yeah, so like, do I just have to like fend him off for like the whole time? So I'm starting to regret my decision now. The thing that I'm coming to terms with now is I don't know how to win. I just know how to not lose. But like, I only have a strategy. That's a stupid strategy.
Yeah, and 5 minutes is a really long time, so you'll lose eventually.
Because like, I don't even think, so the only way I win is if I just like lay on the person and just pin them down and they can't move. But then I wouldn't know how to kind of maintain that position. So I'd have to hope
how to get out of a hole.
Correct, yeah. All right, this is starting to become a bad idea. All right, well, you know, sometimes you get a bit carried away, you know, you're bigger than someone, you're like, you know, when you're bigger and stronger than them, you're like, fuck it, nothing else matters. I disagree now. All right, fun's over. Back to the leg press, back to the workout. So on the leg press, great quad exercise, great fixed range movement. Now with the foot plate, we can actually play around with like the stance and stuff to just target more or less of the quads than the adductors. So if we wanted like a really quad biased leg press, we do want to have like a low foot position and like a lot of flexion in the knee. And we want obviously the stance to be a little bit more narrow. If we wanted to increase the cross-sectional area of the quad and work on the adductor as well, like we would obviously get Ben to like take a wider stance, you know, comfortably. Probably want to turn his toes out as well, just so we've got these reference lines kind of all lined up. So obviously depending on yourself and your own scenario, it's like, are you using this exercise to, you know, just develop your quads? Do you want some more adductor? You would probably adjust the width of your squat, of your leg press, you know, accordingly.
Given that I'm like 90% adductor?
Yeah. So running through the reps, again, like foot pressure is pretty important. We still want like good foot pressure through the heel. We still want some on the toes as well. And then we want to standardize the range of motion here. So like if this is all of the range that Ben can get, like it doesn't matter that we're not getting like heel to calf. Like we did a squat before where we got heel to calf. So sometimes there's movements where we're just kind of working a portion of the muscle length and that's okay. What's more important is that the reps are consistent, we're in control of them, we have progression, and everything's kind of standardized. Okay, Bulgarian split squat. So Mimi's set up. We've got a bench here. Some of you guys might have like a proper Bulgarian split squat pad. What we want to have is just like sufficient distance to make sure that Mimi can kind of go down, just have enough space to sit back on. Then same thing here, we've got like this mid-foot pressure. We've got like a vertical shin position here. So like it's still gonna work a substantial portion of the quads. It's just gonna work a lot more of the hips as well. Just, have this like knee going over the toe. We can elevate the heel if we wanted to. Potentially like just get Mimi to sit a little bit more upright and drive her knees over her toes consciously if she can. And those things can kind of get the quads a little bit more involved in the exercise. The benefits of having some form of like single leg movement in your program is obviously like we're balancing out the strength from left to right, which is important because most of you will have like one dominant side. If you've got like a pre-existing injury and stuff, I know I've had knee surgery, my left side's like not as developed as my right side. So I've got to do like single leg training to kind of bring those things up. So yeah, have a little bit of single leg movements in your program. I would probably have them at the start of your training, especially if you've got a discrepancy in size, just kind of bring them up. Or if you are wanting to target those muscle groups, maybe have them at the start of your session so you're nice and fresh and you can give them everything you got.
I often find that like balance is one of the biggest obstacles for most people, that if you haven't been doing an exercise like this, you try it, feel shit, you can't move much weight because you just balances all over the place. A good stepping stone for this is literally just single leg press to build up. So maybe doing that for a block and then move into a single dumbbell, then move into double dumbbells as you kind of improve in your skill and balance within the exercise as well. Like Jay said, if you are struggling with balance and stuff like that and it's skill development, you might only do a couple of sets and then move on to the rest of your workout and progress that over time because you're not really obviously getting close enough to failure. So you might do a couple of sets on here and then a couple of sets on the leg press that you can really push and build it up over time.
So now we're going to move to walking lunge. So some of you guys aren't going to have the ability to do a walking lunge in your gym because you might have the space. A really good alternate to that is like a kind of reverse lunge on the spot. So you can take the same premise that we're going to do here, of like having separate tracks and making sure you've got distance between your feet and making sure your body's in a good upright position to centralize tension on your quads. But for us, we've got the fortunate thing to have this track here. So we're going to get Mimi to grab dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever it is that you guys need. Sometimes you can do it body weighted, it's not a problem. You don't always have to add load if you don't have the capacity to do that.
So a couple of areas that I would want to focus on when I'm completing my lunges, especially the walking ones, so that I'm stable through the movement, is stepping out wide into train tracks. So hip width, nice and wide. I do take a moment to slow down, and that's actually going to help me reinforce stability as I drive through. Something a lot of people don't think about is keeping your lats strong and tensed so that my dumbbells don't sway me off center.
That's a really good example. We can alter the angle or the position of the torso and the stride length to centralize more or less work in the quad or the hip. So Mimi's lunges then were actually quite long in the stride and her torso was kind of leant over. That's great if you want a little bit more glutes involved in the exercise, you still want some quads. So if we shorten that stride and we keep the torso upright, so I want you to think about like kind of just, chest propelled forward. Now we're changing the dynamic of the exercise a little bit. So it's a little bit more quad dominant, it's still obviously glutes and quads together. It's just like more towards the glutes now, more towards the quads now than the glutes. Summarizing that for you guys, if we step forward and we long stride and we lean forward, there's more movement happening in this joint here. So yes, there's more quad, but there is more glute. If I want to shorten that stride, see this knee is going to drive over this toe, this knee is going to come back. There's way more movement in this joint than there is in this joint. So it's more quad and then it's less hips. So use them however you need to in your training, but the premise is still the same in terms of how they're occupied. We've got these separate tracks to lunge and propel ourselves forward, and then we can just centralize the work wherever we need to. Last quad exercise, we're going to finish off with the leg extension. So if we want full quad stimulation in our training, we've got to implement the leg extension in our programming. Maybe not all the time, but I personally would, because we have like one of our quad muscles which crosses over into the hip joint from the knee, and that's what it's responsible for, is to extend the knee. So if we want to make sure we're training all the quad muscles, when we squat, when we leg press, and when we leg extend, we're doing all of them. So key components of leg extension are being pinned down into the seat, and then just making sure that so you've got the access point here, and just making sure your knee joint is kind of in line with that. So a lot of machines will have like a little circle, like kind of like a target. So you can, so you'll be able to, it'll be a little circle kind of here. Just make sure your joints are kind of lined up with that, just for maximum kind of comfort. So toes pointed upwards, good reference lines. So ankles, knees, and hips kind of in alignment with each other. Then Ben's just making sure he pulls himself into the seat, because as it gets harder, his bum's going to want to lift off the seat, because that's going to deload his quads. We obviously don't want to do that, but that's what your body wants to do to kind of fight the discomfort. This machine's mad. So stay there. So now look at that. So not every machine's going to be able to do this, but when you drop the machine like that and recline, see how much more tension you get in that stretch position. So if we have the ability to recline a leg extension, we're getting lots of tension like that rectus femoris. It's a muscle that kind of crosses over the knee. So, not everyone's going to have the ability to do it, but maybe play around with your leg extension and just see if you can get reclined in it, because you're just going to get a lot of tension, kind of in that stretched position with your leg flexed. Look at those quads. Squeeze, nice. Up, nice. It's good. The hardest part's getting out. You just got to slide out, suffer while you're suffering. All right, so the quads component is done, so now we're going to move on to the calves. So with calves, there's really only a couple of variations that we can do in the gym. We've got this standing calf variation here, so most of you guys will have the machine. We'll get Ben in there. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to have a decent gap between the feet, so kind of similar to hip width. So we're going to have those heels, back of the knee, into the hip, all in alignment. The most important thing here is we're maintaining some form of extension in the knee itself, and then we're dropping the heels back right down to kind of create that stretch. And then we're pushing through the balls of the toes, driving that heel up to the back of the knee. So we're gonna get a really good squeeze of the calves, and stretching them is really important here too. So stretching a muscle under load is obviously very favorable for growth. When the knee is extended and we're doing some form of calf movement, we're going to emphasize loading the muscle in that lengthened position. So your standing calf raises, we're going to show you a variation on a linear leg press. Those things are going to create a really good loaded stretch, so they should be in your calf training. Seated calf raise. So this one still works the calf, works a little bit of the soleus as well. So Ben's got the stance very similar to kind of how we were set up before. We want these good reference lines. We want the ankle, the knee, kind of the hip to be in good alignment. Same scenario, we're going to drop the heel and we're going to kind of push through the balls of the feet, drive up the heel, to the back of the knee. It's a very, very simple, easy to execute exercise. If you are trying to target your calves and build them up, you would want to have some form of seated and standing variation in your program.
Put your hands on top of the handles as well. You'll see a lot of people grab this and then they're like, oh look, it's so light.
Yanking it up.
Put your hands on top.
Agreed. Nice. All right, so last calf exercise, what we're going to do is have a extended knee and a flexed hip. So if you think about the calf exercises that we've done up to now, the standing calf raise is obviously extended hip, extended knee. So it's really good, kind of emphasize the stretch position of the calf as well. And then we've got the seated leg curl where we've got flexion at the hip and the knee. So here we're just adding a different element to it. It's I've got some flexion here, but I've got extension there. Still works loading the stretch position of the calf. And I just like the idea that we're in a really kind of fixed range here, on this linear hack squat. So you can do it on a leg press if you've got the ability to push through the plate on the leg press. Some machines and stuff, leg press machines or free weight allow you to do it as well. But the same premise lies we've got driving our heels kind of back below the plate here, not bending our knee too much, and then we're pushing through the big toes and trying to drive the heels up, towards the back of the knee. So yeah, this is probably my favorite calf exercise, but that's just a personal preference. Nice, awesome. You can probably do this forever by the looks of it.
Spicy.
All right,
That's all
push
look.
back, lock it in. There we go, easy done.
I'm in the center because I'm outquadding these two.
Absolutely. Oh, we'll see that. I didn't even train.
Definitely not.
I didn't even train.
That's the end of the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, subscribe. What else is there?
Roast my quads in the comments. I know you're gonna anyway, you dogs.
Like, subscribe, comment, you know what the drill is, and follow along for the next video.